It was a stormy October night in 2017, the kind that seemed to swallow light and sound. In a small house outside Portland, Oregon, Ethan Cole stood trembling, his hands stained red, staring at the motionless body of his girlfriend, Mia Turner. For months, their love had been unraveling, arguments turning to insults, affection turning to resentment. Mia had finally told him she was leaving. She had packed her things and said she couldn't take his temper anymore. But Ethan's mind, clouded by jealousy and fear of losing control, couldn't accept it. What started as shouting ended with a single moment of blind rage, a heavy lamp crashing against her skull, the thud echoing through the house. Then silence. Ethan froze, panic washing over him as he stared at her. Her chest wasn't moving. Her eyes were open, glassy, and blinking. He knelt beside her, whispering her name over and over, but there was nothing. No pulse, no sound, just the storm outside, pounding against the windows. He had killed her. He hadn't meant to, but he did. Fear gripped him tighter than guilt. He couldn't call the police. He couldn't go to jail. So he did what terrified men do. He hid the truth. Wrapping her body in a blanket, he carried her to his car and drove deep into the woods, far from the city lights. Rain turned the dirt roads to mud as his headlights cut through the darkness. Every mile felt heavier, every breath harder. Finally, he stopped near a clearing. The smell of wet pine filled the air as he dug with trembling hands, shoving earth aside until the hole was deep enough to hide his mistake. He laid her in it, whispered an apology that no one would ever hear, and covered her with soil until the ground looked untouched. Then he left her there in silence, in darkness, in the rain. For the next few weeks, Ethan played the part of a grieving boyfriend. He filed a missing person report, joined search parties, cried for the cameras. To everyone else, he was heartbroken. But every night, when he looked in the mirror, he saw a murderer staring back. Then came the first sign that something was wrong. It was 3 months later. Ethan was at a gas station late at night, exhausted and half drunk, when he saw her, Mia, standing near Pump 6, wearing a gray hoodie, her hair damp from the rain. She was looking right at him. His body froze. It was impossible. His heart pounded as she turned and walked toward the convenience store. He stumbled out of the car and ran after her, but when he pushed open the door, no one was there. The clerk looked confused when Ethan demanded to know where she went. "You're the only one who came in, sir," he said. Ethan didn't sleep that night. His mind replayed what he saw: her face, her eyes, the way she looked at him. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was a dream, but deep down, something told him it wasn't. The sightings continued, once at a grocery store, once on a bus he swore she used to take to work, and once in his own backyard at midnight, her figure barely visible through the window before vanishing into the dark. Every time he tried to tell himself it wasn't real, something would happen to make him question everything. Then, one morning, he received a text from an unknown number. The message read, "You left me in the dark." His hand shook. He deleted it, convinced someone was playing a cruel prank. But another message came. "I remember everything." He tried calling the number, but it went straight to voicemail. The voice on the recording was faint, static-filled, but he could swear it was Mia's. That night, Ethan drove back to the woods. He had to see for himself. The road was even rougher than before, the trees closing in like silent witnesses. When he reached the clearing, the air was cold and still. He found the spot by memory, heart pounding in his chest as he began to dig. The shovel hit nothing but dirt and roots. The grave was empty. No bones, no blanket, nothing. He stumbled backward, gasping for air, until something glimmered in his flashlight beam: a necklace lying on the ground. A small silver heart, engraved with her initials, the one he gave her for her birthday. It was clean, shiny, as if someone had just placed it there. Ethan's phone buzzed again. A new message. "Turn round." He spun, the flashlight trembling in his hand, scanning the trees. Nothing, just rain and darkness. He ran to his car, fumbling with his keys. The phone buzzed again. "I never died, Ethan." The next morning, his car was found abandoned on the side of the road near those same woods. The driver's side door was wide open, rain soaking the seats. His phone lay on the dashboard. The screen cracked, still receiving texts, all from the same number. Police searched the woods for days but found no trace of him. The only thing they discovered was a small wooden cross nailed to a tree near the clearing. Etched into the wood, in shaky handwriting, were two words: "Still alive," and beneath it, barely visible in the dirt, was a woman's footprint. Fresh. When police found Ethan Cole's abandoned car, the case was treated as a simple missing persons report. But the story behind that cold night was far from simple. Ethan wasn't just missing, he had vanished under impossible circumstances. The texts on his phone were the first clue that something was terribly wrong. Every message came from the same number. No name, no contact photo, Just one chilling thread that began 3 nights before he disappeared. The first message said, "You left me in the dark." Then, "I remember everything." And finally, the last one before he vanished, "I never died, Ethan." The detectives who examined the phone couldn't trace the number. It was a burner line, no owner, no SIM registration, no cell tower data. But the strange thing was the timestamps. They were all sent from a location deep inside the forest where Ethan had buried Mia Turner months earlier. The same forest where his car was found. Detective Leila Hayes was assigned to the case. She'd been with the department for over 10 years and had seen enough crime scenes to know when something didn't add up. When she read Ethan's police statement from the night he reported Mia missing, her instincts screamed that it was a lie. There were gaps, inconsistencies, too many coincidences. But what haunted her most wasn't the lies. It was the ending. Ethan had gone missing almost exactly 6 months after Mia had disappeared. Determined to find answers, Lila revisited the woods. The trees loomed high, blocking out the sunlight, and the air felt unnaturally heavy. She found the wooden cross nailed to the tree, just as the report described. Etched into it were the words "still alive." But what the reports didn't mention was that someone had carved something new beneath it since the police first found it. For words, freshly cut into the wood. He came back too. That was enough to convince her to reopen the case. Over the next few weeks, Lila dug deeper into Ethan and Mia's past. Neighbors described their relationship as volatile. Friends said Mia had talked about leaving him for months but was too afraid. And then there was one chilling detail. A friend recalled Mia telling her that if anything ever happened, she had a plan. She didn't explain what that plan was, only that Ethan would never see it coming. Meanwhile, reports began surfacing from nearby residents, strange figures in the woods, lights flickering at night, whispers when no one was around. Local teenagers claimed they saw a woman in a gray hoodie wandering along the forest road, barefoot, her clothes soaked, her eyes blank. One driver swore she stepped into the middle of the road before vanishing into the mist. Lila didn't believe in ghosts. She believed in evidence. So she pulled Mia Turner's medical records. What she found changed everything.
The night Mia was reported missing, a woman matching her description was admitted to a small private clinic 30 miles away from Portland. No ID, no visitors, head injury, and partial memory loss. The attending nurse recorded only one name. The woman had muttered in her sleep, "Ethan." The next morning, before the police could identify her, she vanished from the clinic without a trace. Lila followed the paper trail to an abandoned cabin listed under Mia's late father's name, hidden deep in the woods. Inside, dust covered the floor, but on a small wooden table sat 2 cups, one fresh, still warm. There were muddy footprints near the doorway, leading out the back and disappearing into the trees. Lila followed them until she reached a clearing. And there, beneath the roots of an old tree, she saw a newly dug grave. Inside wasn't a body. It was Ethan's jacket, torn, blood-stained. And next to it, Mia's necklace, the same heart-shaped pendant that had first led Ethan back here. That's when her radio crackled, static at first. Then a voice, faint, whispering, "He shouldn't have come back." Lila froze. She turned slowly, her flashlight cutting through the fog. A shadow moved between the trees. Then another. She called out, but no answer. Just the sound of branches cracking behind her. Closer and closer, until nothing. Silence. 2 days later, Lila's body cam footage was recovered. Her final moments showed her walking deeper into the forest, whispering that she saw someone. Then the camera panned suddenly, shaking violently. For a brief second, a woman's face appeared in the frame, pale, wet hair clinging to her skin, eyes empty but familiar. It was Mia Turner. The footage ended with Lila's voice trembling as she said, "Oh my God, she's not alone." Her radio went dead. The official report concluded that both Ethan Cole and Detective Lila Hayes were presumed dead. The investigation remains open but unsolved. No trace of Mia Turner was ever found. Locals say if you drive through those woods at night, you might still see her walking along the road alone, barefoot, whispering the same 3 words to anyone who stops. "I never died." The story should have ended in those woods. Ethan Cole dead, Detective Lila Hayes missing, and Mia Turner either gone or something else entirely. But 6 months after the investigation was quietly closed, strange things began happening again. It started with a call to the Portland Police Department from a retired ranger who patrolled the forest. His voice shook as he spoke. "There's a cabin deep in the west clearing. There's smoke coming from it. No one should be there. When officers arrived, the cabin door was wide open. Inside, the smell of burnt wood and old blood filled the air. On the wall, carved into the wood with something sharp, were the same two words that had haunted the case from the start: still alive. But there was something new beneath it this time. He's here.
A few miles away, in a small motel off the interstate, a man checked in under the name David Miller. The clerk remembered him clearly: tall, pale, with dark circles under his eyes. He looked sick, like he hadn't slept in days. Later, security footage showed him pacing his room, whispering to himself, staring out the window as if expecting someone. When police reviewed the tape, they froze it on his face. David Miller was actually Ethan Cole. He was alive, and he looked terrified. In the footage, Ethan can be heard talking to himself. His words are muffled, but a few stand out. She found me. She's not human. I buried her. And she came back. Then he suddenly stops, staring directly into the camera as if he realized someone was watching. That was the last time anyone saw him alive. The next morning, the motel manager found the room empty. No signs of struggle. Just a faint smell of damp earth and a trail of muddy footprints leading to the window. Outside, police discovered a message written in condensation on the glass. "You can't kill what's already dead." Detective Leela Hayes' replacement, Officer Daniel Reeves, took over the reopened case. He was skeptical of the supernatural rumors, but the evidence left no easy explanation. Ethan's fingerprints appeared in multiple places. He couldn't have been his abandoned car, Lila's camera, even the cabin door that had been sealed off by police tape months earlier. But the strangest detail came from a witness, a local farmer who claimed to have seen a woman standing in the middle of the road near the forest just before dawn. She was barefoot, her gray hoodie drenched, and she was holding someone's hand. The farmer said it looked like Ethan's, but when he blinked, both of them were gone. Reeves didn't believe it until he played the dashcam footage from his patrol car a few nights later. There, for less than a second, the camera caught the reflection of two figures crossing the road. One was a man in a dark jacket, the other a woman with pale skin, long wet hair, and a faint smile that seemed almost wrong. Her eyes weren't human anymore. When the footage leaked online, people called it a hoax, another viral Ghost in the Woods video. But those who lived near the area told the same story for years afterward. They'd hear whispers outside their windows, footsteps in the mud, and see shapes moving just beyond their headlights. One hiker even claimed to find a phone half buried near the old cabin. It still worked. Inside were dozens of unread messages, all from an unknown number. The last one was sent just a week before. It said, "We're together now." The sender's name appeared briefly before the battery died. Mia Turner. Now, locals say that if you drive through the forest on a rainy night, you might see them walking side by side down the road. A man and a woman, hand in hand, faces pale, eyes hollow. Some say it's love that refused to die. Others say it's guilt that refused to rest.
But one thing's for sure, Ethan Cole thought he could bury his crime. He never realized that some victims don't die, they wait. And when they come back, they don't come back alone. 2 years had passed since the case of Ethan Cole and Mia Turner was quietly shelved. The file sat deep in the Portland police archives, dusty, forgotten, marked unsolved. But one detective refused to let it die. Her name was Renee Porter, a young investigator new to the department, drawn to cases everyone else feared to touch. When Renee first read through the reports, the contradictions leapt out immediately: conflicting witness statements, missing evidence, and strange messages that no one could trace. She had no reason to believe in ghosts or curses, but something about this case felt unfinished. It was as if every person who touched it vanished. So she did what no one else dared: she reopened it. Her investigation began with the motel footage. The same haunting image of Ethan staring into the camera, whispering that she found me. Renee slowed the video frame by frame, and that's when she saw it. Barely visible in the mirror behind him was a reflection. A woman's face, pale, eyes hollow, lips moving in sync with his words. She wasn't in the room, but her reflection was. She enhanced the audio, isolating background frequencies. A second voice whispered under Ethan's breath, faint but clear enough to send chills through her spine. "You promised you'd never leave." Renee replayed it again and again, and that's when she realized it wasn't a threat. It sounded sad. The next lead took her back to the forest. She followed the same dirt road where Ethan had buried Mia, where Detective Leela Hayes disappeared, and where countless strange sightings were reported. The deeper she went, the quieter it became. Even the wind seemed to stop. Near the old cabin, Renee found what looked like a memorial. Two crosses made from branches stood side by side, tied with twine. Beneath them, someone had carved their initials into a tree. EC plus MT equals forever. Fresh flowers lay at their base, still wet from rain. Someone had been here recently. She turned on her body cam, documenting everything. But then, the static started soft at first, then louder, almost rhythmic, like breathing. Through the distortion, a woman's voice whispered her name. Renee. Her flashlight flickered. She swung it around nothing. Only the dark, endless trees. She stepped forward, every instinct screaming to leave. Then she saw it. A phone half buried in the mud. The screen was cracked but still faintly glowing. One unread message. The sender, Mia Turner. The message said, "He's waiting." Suddenly, her radio came alive with static again, and then Ethan's voice. "Don't come closer. We made a mistake." Renee froze. She scanned the area with her flashlight, her breath visible in the cold air. "Ethan?" she called. "If you're here, show yourself." And then, out of the fog, two silhouettes appeared. A man and a woman, hand in hand. Their faces pale, eyes lifeless. They stopped just a few feet away. Renee's camera caught everything. Mia stepped forward first, her lips trembling, her voice barely above a whisper. "We didn't mean for it to happen. We just wanted to be together." Renee tried to speak, but before she could, the figures began to fade, dissolving into mist as if the forest itself was swallowing them. The last thing the camera recorded was Mia's voice saying, "Tell them we're free." When backup arrived an hour later, Renee was found unconscious near the cabin door. Her body cam was still recording. When she awoke, she had no memory of what happened after entering the clearing. The phone she'd found was gone, but the flowers, the crosses, and the initials in the tree were still there. A week later, Renee received an unmarked envelope at her desk. Inside was a single photograph. It showed the clearing empty but with something new carved into the tree trunk beneath the initials. It read, "Together, forever finally." No fingerprints, no sender, no explanation. She closed the case file for good that night, typing just one sentence in her report. Ethan Cole and Mia Turner presumed deceased. Case concluded. Some crimes don't end in death, they end in devotion.